man.
Yeah, I'm good. Let's get it. All right, I'm ready.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the On Purpose Growth Podcast. Today is going to be awesome. I've experienced this gentleman firsthand, and I'm excited just to have a conversation because I'm going to learn something. Today I got Brian Johnson, and we're going to be talking about self-mastery tools for today's busy entrepreneur, because Brian's a self-mastery coach for entrepreneurs. And before we were starting the recording, he shared with me a statement that I love, which is, life doesn't give us what we want, it gives us who we are. So we're going to be talking about that today. So Brian, thanks for being on, man. Why don't you give everybody a little bit more background into who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, so first off, I appreciate you allowing me to be here and allowing me to support and serve, because I'm going to share with you today how I ended up doing this 3 different times. Okay. Now I'm 30 here. That's right out of jail at about 27-ish. And I got so fat I could feel my ass jiggling while I was writing letters, if that gives you an idea, because I wasn't going to work out and eat while I was there. And I went in there like this. And now at 43, 13 years later, I'm in better shape now than I was here on stage, just as a way of life. I'm not saying that it's one of these. I'm saying that because what I'm going to help you do is find your combination for you to thrive in your way. All right. I'm going to share with you a couple things too, because along my journey, I've almost died 12 times, been suicidal. I've done a crazy amount of drugs. I know I ran out of luck a long time ago. God saved my life to do what I do here, which is basically help you understand pieces of the puzzle that I've seen take people in the world of impossible to possible to even expected. And I say that very humbly and very confidently because I've been doing this stuff since I was 7. So I'm 43. This is what I've invested my whole life, as being a nerd and a student of, what it takes for humans to thrive. And when they're not, why are they not? How did they get there? What happened? We're designed in God's and his image, however your version of that is. If it isn't, just shift it and do what works for you. Just know we're designed to thrive on all areas of life. And if we're not, our belief system or our identity is out of alignment with who we truly be. So what I do is I help people bring all those equations and different hats into the conversation and say, okay, today we're going to do this with your food. You're going to track it. You're going to give me that number. Right now, we're going to dive into emotional stuff and help you get clear on what your body is telling you, or why you're having pain or discomfort, or why you're having cyclical issues. I wear a lot of hats. So what I basically do is help people thrive. And that comes in a lot of versions. It just comes in a lot of the experience I've had over the years of having well over maybe close to a couple 100,000 hours at this time with a couple 100,000 people served. And it's not one of these. It's like, look, here's what I found, right? I've been blessed to work with people with Parkinson's and cancer and AIDS and things like that nutritionally. And what I find most fascinating is body language, meaning understanding itches and scratches and pains and discomforts, and understanding what our spirit, our highest self, is attempting to communicate to us via these itches and scratches. So if you were to be open-minded, now would be a good time. And really just give me 1% of your trust, and I'll earn the other 99, and you have my commitment to do so. But just know, and there's no such thing as a stupid question, just stupid mistakes. I've left my number with Brian, so y'all can reach out to me in my text message service. It goes to me directly after text number 2. So whatever questions you have, if something pops up, please, that's what I'm here for. And that's why I gave you that number, because it's direct access to me. So where should we start, brother? Let's dive in.
First, before we start, man, the one thing about I love you, Brian, especially when we met in person, is that you are the real deal in the open book. And I can't thank you and appreciate you more. And I just wanted to say that before we dive in, because man, you're such the real deal, man. So, and you make my life better every time I spend time. I appreciate you, man.
It gives me the chills, man. I receive that. I appreciate that. And look,
so
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I've led a lot of people down the wrong path earlier in my journey and experience. So I take that very important and very, I think of a word. It's important for me to lead people in the proper direction. So I appreciate that feedback. So what were you going to say?
So we're all busy entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And where does self-mastery begin, or where's one of the first places to look?
Great question, right? So here's what I propose, okay? This is what I found to work the fastest. You do what works for you. And I say, prove all things and hold fast to that which is true. I'm a huge spiritual scripture person. I'm not a religious person. You will hear me reference scripture because for me, that's the truth. That's the law that I align with that allows what I do to work. And I'll share with you more as we're kind of going along. Here's what I think would be one of the simplest understandings that if you're really truly committed to thriving, not knowing this is not acceptable. Okay. 7% of our language comes from words. 7%. Although our words are absolutely profoundly important, 7% comes from words. Okay. Next part, 38% comes from tonality, which is upswings, downswings, not what you say, how you say it kind of thing. And then you also have 55% that comes from physiology. That is itches, scratches, pains, discomforts, body positions, body posture positions, elevated shoulders, chins, all of that is decodable. Okay. So if one were to truly be committed to thriving, would it be okay to assume that in order for us to thrive at any moment in the day or night, we need to be able to be accurately clear on who we're being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Which means if you're not feeling enthusiastic authentically, and you know that, and you don't know what you are feeling, well, when's now a good time to up your skill sets? Because
so what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean by authentically? Define that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think this is
no, perfect.
What's the distinction?
That. Authentically is important because I can mentally masturbate myself into thinking I'm enthusiastic when all my body's signals are telling me I have tightness in my throat or my chest, which is sorrow or fear, or maybe I haven't caught the tightness, but I've caught the stutter patterns. Maybe there's been a 2 stutter, and, or 3, hey. All that's code. Meaning if I'm not able to hear it or feel it, I'm not able to change who I'm being. Remember, life doesn't give us what we want. Life gives us who we are being. If you don't know what you feel, it's costing you more than you know. Because I'll share this with you too. The law of attraction is very real. Whether you think it is or not, doesn't matter. You are consistently crafting your days by what you're thinking and feeling. Whatever you attach your feeling to, that's your ticket to the speed train. Because whatever you're thinking about and you attach a feeling to, that means, hey, put this on express because we're interested in experiencing this. That can go both ways. That can go positive. That can go negative. It's a very fact that we are focusing our attention and marrying a feeling with that. That's the qualifier. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's maybe think that I have experiences, past relationships, dad relationship, mom relationship, maybe a divorce, maybe a job, maybe an employee thing. Let's say these things from these past experiences are still active and I think I've resolved them, yet when I think about this person or thing, my body shows me cues, or I feel my state change, my attitude change, my feelings change, tightness change. That's all information to let you know, hey, there's some things going on that we haven't resolved. And guess what? Feelings buried alive never die, which means if there are things going on that haven't been resolved, they're going to keep showing up in the form of people, circumstances, situations, or events that match how you feel or who you be. Okay, that's very important because look, if you got a bunch of stuff showing up in your life that you're not excited about it, get excited about it because you can change it because you're creating it. And the faster you can give yourself radical responsibility to take radical responsibility, I believe the faster you can make massive transformation shifts by really making small, simple 1-degree shifts like we'll talk about today. I find I'm not interested in transformations. That's inevitable when I shift and change identities. Getting shredded, being in amazing shape, and having an amazing relationship and amazing businesses and all that stuff, all that's already there. We just get to uncover everything that you are not and develop some framework and some structures to be able to implement that on a day-to-day basis, where you got it out here, on here where you have some frameworks and some systems. What I like to say, a system would be save yourself time, energy, and money. And you can use it. That's not mine. That's James Malinchak. James Malinchak. I got that from James Malinchak in 2014. That's a good one.
Taking notes.
I give him credit. Get it. Save yourself time, energy, and money. So with body language, here's what I found. Over the years, I've always been fascinated on helping people feel better as fast as possible legally, right? I've done both. And I find that body language is the fastest way to do that. Yeah, foods are helpful, like kiwis. Can they help reverse asthma? I've seen it. It's the second highest vitamin C source on the planet. And they've got studies out of Italy showing they reduce emphysema and wheezing and coughing and allergy symptoms like 64 to 68% in kids. Why don't more people know that? Good question. I know. Whether we'll talk about that now or not, it's a different story. Just know that it's not necessarily in your best interest. What I'm sharing with you is stuff that needs to be in your interest, because these are God's most potent things that will never change. Food will never change. Our bodies will never change as long as we're in one. And body language will never change. So when you focus on this five pillars I focus on: air, water, sleep, food, or air, water, food, sleep, and consciousness. Okay. And I even have all these in our books. So one of my books I got is called Think Great, Lose Weight. It's on Amazon. It goes into these pillars. It's a little bit about weight loss, but it's all the mind stuff we're talking about. That's what it gets into. So air, water, food, sleep, and consciousness. I am a huge fan of mastering the basics. So here's your first application piece. Okay. This little tool that I'm going to share with you is very simple, and it is extremely profound, because look, if you don't know who you're being, when's now a good time to get clear about it and to be authentic about it? Not from a place of here's what's wrong. Where am I at? Like, what's my current reality? So I can operate from here and actually make changes that are here and change and shift. Okay. Now the beauty of body language, like this right here, that's all body language, clearing out the birds, being able to see. It's all code. And as I'm doing stuff, my body is telling me stuff. And as it is, I will give you information so you can understand what's going on as it comes up, because there's a lot of fascinating stuff. All right. So let's dive into this. One of the easiest, simple things that you can do throughout the day, I have an alarm that goes off every 15 minutes. It's a lady's voice, so it kind of breaks me out of my pattern. All I do is check in with myself. And if I'm breathing from my chest, which means if my shoulders are going up or my stomach is not going out, that means I'm breathing from my chest. And that means I'm in fight or flight or freeze. Not good. Because if I'm in fight or flight or freeze or fear, I can't be in faith. Make sense? Can't be in two places at one time. So you get to choose this day whom you shall serve, which is a very important conscious statement. Everything that I'm sharing with you at this point is you deciding to make conscious statements on what's going to help you to thrive. Okay. This way you're not there doing anything by default. You're making new conscious adjustments to your best and highest expressions. And as you do, and as you are authentically in alignment, you will have things in your external world that will validate your movement for being in alignment. You may have your favorite song come on. You may have numbers like 11, 11, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. All of those have different meanings, and they are important to pay attention to, because when you're in the game, aka not stuck in the matrix, when you're in the game, you're going to see a lot of things that most people would never even know are going on. Like, there's a whole conversation going on around me while I'm doing my stuff and I'm out in nature. I have all kinds of signs and things pop up one after another after what I'm thinking. And it's only because I understand that at this point. It hasn't always been that way. Like I said, I've almost died 12 times. So I was way off before. Okay. So let's continue. So if you're stuck in your chest, that means you're in fight or flight or freeze. Okay. All we're doing right now is identifying. And I'm going to show you a little technique I created called ABRA, like abracadabra, poof, magic. Okay. The A stands for acknowledge, which is what we're doing. B stands for breathe. You have 2 R's, release and realign. And then you have A, which is appreciate. And I'll walk you through the whole thing so you understand. And we'll even use fear today because that's probably one of the more prominent ones that my entrepreneurs face is what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, right? The whole what if, right? So here we go. So if you're breathing from your chest, one of my favorite phrases is this: I choose to make this fun and easy. Okay. Now, when I say I choose to make this fun and easy, it's the direct opposite of apathy, which means I can't, this is too hard. Okay, now just a really quick story so I can help you understand. I'll keep it fast. One morning I was at the gym at 5 a.m. and I did not want to be there. I think you and I talked about this. And I didn't want to be there. And I'm doing elliptical and I'm just bitching and moaning the whole time. I'm trying to read my book and my nose is running off my face. And I'm doing my thing. Oh God, this sucks. And my nose is running off my face. I'm like, why is my nose running off my face? Further perpetuating the shitty feeling that I had. Okay. Now, as soon as I was conscious of it, I said, I'm not sure why I didn't pick this up sooner yet. Fine enough. Here we go. So as soon as I even had the idea to change my statement to I choose to make this fun and easy, as soon as I even thought about it, my nose stopped running, my state completely changed, and my attitude and physiology changed in a split second. Now, let's talk about this for a second because this is why language is important. So by our words, we are justified, and by our words, we are condemned. Okay. That's a very important thing to understand because that's the truth. No one gets off of it. It's a law. Even if you have your head in the sand or you choose to be unconscious, you're not excused. You're still experiencing all the fruits of your being. You're just unconscious about why you're getting it. Okay. And when you become conscious of it, you can say, okay, I don't like what I'm getting. Well, who am I being? Well, how can I shift and make a new change and a new choice? And how can I have validation that what I did just worked? This is where body language comes in, okay? So as we're shifting our breathing, and I say I choose to make this fun and easy, and I push my breathing down to my stomach, stomach breathing is all as well, okay? That means faith will be another word for it, or relaxation, parasympathetic, ease and flow. That's ideal where we're supposed to operate at, okay? Now here's the next part of this, and this is what I say about authentically. Because if you don't know where feelings show up at on your vehicle, you don't know. And it's costing you because they're showing up all the time. All day long, our body is processing stuff. Someone else's stuff, our stuff, doesn't matter. There is stuff going on that either we're aware of it or we're not. And when I'm aware of it, I can change it. When I'm not, I can't. Okay, so here we go. So when you're feeling your feelings, meaning you haven't shut them off, a lot of people have shut them off. Like, have you ever had the experience where feeling your feelings was not okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now this is important because most of the time when that happens, we're like, those feelings, I don't want to feel that. Who's got time for that, right? Well, this is important because look, your feelings account for 93% of the equation, which means if you got an unhappy inner child that's rolling around with all that stuff from your past, that little 3-year-old is going to cause some havoc in your experience. And unless you get really clear on how to rectify and resolve and reunite yourselves in harmony, you will have a less than optimal experience. I guarantee you. There's no way around it because your inner child is set for sabotage, doom, and gloom. And if it's not changed, it's not changed. Okay. And this is what we're talking about now, is a system and a simple way to track who you're being in real time and get clear on exactly what you feel, which is what we're about to dive into now, and then actually shift it. Okay. So here we go. So when sorrow is present, it will show up in your throat. Now, if you don't feel it, you'll hear a 3 stutter. And, hey, 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 You may hear it in someone else. There's still only one of us here emotionally. We're all subconsciously connected, okay? So if you hear a 3 stutter, pay attention. Check your throat. The only reason you're hearing a 3 is because you're not feeling feelings. So if I'm not feeling my feelings, and I know that, I might say something like this. I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay. All right, that was a good one. I could tell I saddled in on that one. And I'll share with you why I made a couple of adjustments. Like if you saw my eyes, because these are little, I call them ninja nuances. Like these nuances are what's going to allow you to move light speed ahead of who you be yesterday, because you're living in the quantum world. Time doesn't exist where we're operating from. We're moving into grace. We're moving into laws and application, okay, through understanding. So when I look this way, and then I take my eyeballs and I look down here in my left shoulder, and I'll say, I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay. My body took a deep breath. I sat back on my heels, which is all real time data that says, hey, we're good. We're rolling. We're going. Okay. Spirit's breath. Your body will make adjustments and you will feel what you're saying. That's the huge part. If you're not feeling what you're saying, then you're wasting your time. And this is why we're doing those eye adjustments, so that you can feel what you're saying. Because as soon as you let it be okay to feel your feelings, prepare yourself. You may have different things start coming up that have been suppressed. That's great. They're coming up for you to do the work on them and shift them. Okay. No, anytime if you and I are connected, it's for a reason. You're doing work already. Now you're pushing up all the stuff that's not true by the stuff that's true, that's pushing the stuff up that's not true, to shift it. Okay. So just know, whenever something shows up, it's not about what's wrong. It's about what's returning emotionally. Okay. And this case, since we started talking about sorrow, well, when sorrow is upgraded, it turns into joy. Or when grief is updated, it turns into joy. Okay. Now find the little collarbone on your chest right there, the little notch, and then go down about an inch. That's where your thymus shows up at. That's where fear shows up at. For me, I've been 250 3 different times. Okay. Because listen to this part. Fear, not only will it show itself here, it will also show itself in your stomach, like you're hungry and you're not, or you already ate and you know you're not hungry, but you still choose to eat. That's fear. That's exactly how it feels. There is no distinguishing difference other than your emotional IQ of understanding that you have fear active versus you being hungry. Now, is there always a potential for the hunger thing? Of course, depending on how active you are and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's a good idea to understand it's fear. Okay. Now, next part. So you have fear shows up in your stomach. You have your solar plexus, which is right where your xiphoid process is. That's where grief shows up. Okay. So you got sorrow, fear, grief, fear, and then anger. Anger shows up in your neck, in your back, could be all down your spine, could be on either side of your spine. All of that's decodable. Meaning, let's say, for example, you do have back pain. And let's say it's on the right side. Well, right side is either going to be anger with a male figure or about what you're doing. Left side's anger with a female figure or about receiving. Okay. There's a lot of code that goes into this, but what I'm doing now is giving you a very functional, fundamental system to start with, so you can start mastering the basics. As you start mastering the basics, and throughout the day, you can get clear on who you're being when you're not feeling enthusiastic. Well, it's a lot easier to get yourself into enthusiasm. When you're not in peace and you're not having fun, stop what you're doing. Because all you're doing is making more stuff for yourself that's unnecessary because of who you're being. You need to be able to get back into a state of peace, fulfillment, and remind me about this one, B. We'll talk about law of attraction versus law of satisfaction as we kind of tighten up Abra here for a minute. So back to Abra. So back stuff, anger. Okay. Now the importance of this is very simple. Because as an entrepreneur, you need to be acutely, highly sensitive to whether you are carrying your emotions or someone else's. Because the number one thing for you is to keep your bandwidth open and to keep it clean, so you're not processing a bunch of other people's stuff or your stuff, so you can fully take all that energy and invest it into your projects and the things that you're creating. Because if not, it can get a little crazy. All right.
So how do you notice? How do you notice? Or is
by how you feel. Like if you don't feel good, that's because your thinking got you there, which means that you have feelings that are present that are also encouraging your thoughts. Now,
What
here's the
about
thing.
what about if it's another person? How do you know the distinction?
Yep. So check it out. So as you become more acutely aware of yourself, when I go in public, I can tell when I get into a place if something just hopped on me, like literally hopped on me. And it's true. I've had times when I'll be thinking about people, just wasn't intentionally meaning to tap into them. I was just thinking about them. And as soon as I did, boom, something jumped on me. And I'm like, wow, I just thought about them and some of their stuff got on me. We are swimming in a sea of stuff. We're either aware of it or we're not. And just know it exists, whether you're aware of it or not, it's going on. So one of the things I really love to ask myself is when I have something pop up on me, I'll say, Brian, is this yours? Most of the time, if it's not, my body will metaphorically like pull off a shirt and the emotion goes, takes off. Okay. Now, that's one simple thing you can do. Another thing you do too is take some good salt, keep it in your bathtub or your shower, and rub it on your solar plexus every time you get in the shower. And that'll clear off that energy field in front of your body, which is where a lot of things and energies come into our body to be transmuted into hormones and energy and stuff like that, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So very useful, very important, because if you're an entrepreneur, there's a higher probability that you're an empath, which means that you have some type of abilities to pick up on what other people are thinking and feeling, whether you know it or not. You probably do. So just be open-minded to the idea. Get used to checking in with yourself frequently. I love the app called Chime, Chime. It's free. I have it set for every 15 minutes, which means every 15 minutes, this little lady goes, it's 2:45. And I'll use that time to check myself. If I'm not feeling amazing, I'll make an adjustment with my breath. I'll make an adjustment with my posture and my state and get myself back into state. And I do that frequently so that by the end of my day, I am more enthusiastic before I go to bed than I was when I woke up. The only way I can do that is by adding momentum every 15 minutes throughout the day. Just a split check in. I choose to make this fun and easy. Whatever little tool or nuance I'm doing, I use that every 15-minute mark to tighten that up, right? And here's the thing. The reason why I get up at 4 a.m. is because of that. I require 2 hours by myself. I require a lot of time by myself, especially if I'm around people in groups and things like that, very small amount of them. I find myself going back to the room when we're done because it's just too much. So I require that time, and I know that. Find out what that is for you. The reason why I condition myself to get up at 4 is because there's not a whole lot of people up at that time unless they're in Dubai or somewhere on the other fucking side of the planet, which is great because they're not calling me or asking me for something, which is great. So I'll do all my morning routine stuff. A couple of things, and this is me giving you some extra value here. A couple of things that are really critical for you. I've been working on my AM and PM routines here. I Think and Grow Rich statement since 2013.
Oh, wow.
This is on a Google Doc where I have all of the things that I do for my morning routine, my PM routine, my upgraded life experiences, all the things I do for my morning routine. And I love looking at this because there's a lot of things I'm like, dang, I forgot to do that one. And that one's gold. So start crafting something that you can follow. You need a routine to give yourself some guidance, because I don't know what I don't know. When I go learn more stuff, often the things I was using that I know to work got pushed by the wayside while I'm trying out new things to find the blends to tweak it. So create a running Google Doc that you can access from your computer, from your phone, or from your laptop. That way you always have something. If you have an idea, you can fire yourself this back to your doc and you can put it on there and you can print it up and you can always change it. It's on a Google Doc, right? Repetition is the key. And here's the next part of this real quick, and then we'll finish up with the fear part. Law of attraction versus law of satisfaction. Okay, this is a very big deal. There's a phenomenal resource called Feel Free to Prosper that I would recommend getting. I love the audio. I'm an audio person. I have lots of books too, but I love audio. I can get a lot more and quicker and more consistently and redundantly. Feel Free to Prosper. Marilyn Janae, Dr. Joseph Murphy, one of Dr. Joseph Murphy's students, and by far one of the best, if not the best, prosperity consciousness stuff I've come across. And I'll share with you what she talks about law of attraction versus law of satisfaction, okay? So in consciousness, we have what we already have in consciousness, which means if you come from being rich, accurately with your feelings, your physical world will follow, provided there's no resistance, no issues going on. This is why it's important for you to feel yourself around as you start putting new ideas out. Check in with yourself. If you're putting a new idea out and you have tightness in your chest, that's your body saying, hey, I have fear, because we don't have that. And if you don't know that, you can't change it. And all the time you think you're investing in, well, I'm doing all this visualization work, but the 93% of you that's fucking calling the shots is saying, not going to happen. And if I don't feel it, I don't feel it. Okay, this stuff was not taught to me. I had to learn this the hard way a few times. This is why I'm just being Brian with you, because I don't know how to be frank. These things are hugely helpful. Okay, so here's the next tweak to that. So if you were to take the whole law of attraction versus law of satisfaction thing, and you were to fall asleep at night in a state as if all your dreams had landed for 10 lifetimes, all of them, how would you feel? What would you feel?
Already? I can feel it already. Damn.
Here's the thing: as you start, and watch your damn, bless it instead.
Thank you.
There's a nuance, right? Damn, cancel, bless, right? And it happens all the time. People are like, fuck my life, cancel, my life's a blessing. And they don't know what's going on. And their language is perpetuating even more of it. So be mindful of what you're saying. So, law of satisfaction. The law of satisfaction is I already have this thing. Law of attraction means I don't, and I'm choosing to attract it, right? Okay. So if we were to make that simple nuance shift and focus from already having that which we desire in my relationship, my business, my health, my wealth, my love, my self-expression, all the categories, my daughter sneezing, that's confirmation in my environment. Important. Did you hear it?
I did.
Okay, that's important, because what you just heard was someone participating without them knowing, validating that what we're talking about is truthful and accurate. You test it for yourself. You tell me what you notice. A sneeze is not just a sneeze, especially when you're out about somewhere in public and someone does it. You're like, yes, confirmation. I haven't found it to be inaccurate yet. Do your own homework. So, law of satisfaction. Before you go to bed, put yourself into a rapturous state of enthusiasm as if all your dreams have landed, and legitimately they have, meaning you are using the things that you've been dreaming for. That's the real application of use. Okay. So you're doing this. What are you doing? Who's with you? What are you tasting, smelling, touching? What are you hearing? What are people saying to you? Taking that whole experience and fast forwarding it a year out, meaning now that I've had all of my dreams for a year, now what's new and different? Because once I collapse a time gap and I go out a year, my subconscious can't follow that. It's like, okay, it's already been a year since this happened. Okay, well, here we go. And then you start imagining from that space, and your subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and real fake. Okay. So the idea is, when I can craft a feeling I can get something here and I can keep my feeling world to vibrate it, or to put out a super intense feeling of gratitude and appreciation, that's when you're really moving your life consciously by what's designed in you instrumentally. Okay. So now back to the fear piece, because fear is probably going to be one of the most prominent things that you'll get to experience and crush. No, first off, God hasn't created a spirit of fear, only power, love, and a sound mind. That's important to know, because if you don't know the truth, you'll fall for the lie. And they're everywhere. Okay. So as I feel fear, I'm going to walk you through my ABRA formula so you can understand application. And of course, if you've got questions, just text me, right? So I'm feeling fear, and I notice I'm breathing from my chest. I would say, I choose to make this fun and easy. There goes my breathing. And I give myself permission to feel my fear, and it's okay. Now, if I would have said, listen to the last part of this. If I would have said, I give myself permission to feel my fear and it's okay, or I give myself permission to feel my fear and it's okay. What do you notice? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, one is accepting and one's not.
Okay is no okay. That's a question. So anytime you have someone go, yes, that's not a yes. At least one that was meant. Not doesn't mean someone's lying. Just means that maybe we have some incongruencies at the moment. Maybe I better ask some more questions to make sure we're on the same page. Okay. So when I say, okay, I'm in my body, that's gold, because that means your subconscious isn't trying to cheer you off and not deal with the pain. Because look, we are hardwired from caveman days to avoid pain like the plague. And if we don't turn and face it and realize it's just an illusion, it will wreck shop on every area of your life until you die. That's what it does. There's plenty of people around. You look at them every day, people walking around in fear, doing their thing. Don't buy that. Don't judge it, and be the shining light that you're here to be. That's important to understand that, and to believe that is even more important. All right. So I choose to love and here's the next part. So here we did that, acknowledging the breathe, acknowledge what's going on, tightness in my chest, breathing. Okay. Now release and realign. So our greatest weakness is our greatest strength. Scripture would say, not Brian Johnson's theory or opinion. So what I would say here is I choose to love my fear into my courage and my faith. Now, there's also a scripture that says perfect love casteth out fear, or perfect love transmutes fear, or perfect love shifts fear, whatever your version of that. Think quantum physics, because that's all it is. Okay. So when I say perfect love casteth out fear, oh, great. Well, in that case, I choose to love my fear into my courage and my faith. When you take fear and you invert it, courage and faith is what's on top. That's it. All we're doing is using our body to identify what's not by what's active, where it shows up at sorrow, fear, grief, fear, anger. And then the strength of that, if it's sorrow, it's going to be my joy. If it's fear, it's going to be my courage and my faith. If it's grief, it's going to be my joy. If it's fear, it's going to be my courage and my faith. If it's anger, it's going to be my forgiveness, and then me reclaiming my authority and taking loving action. You know, there's a code. I create a little system for this, but basically what you just had an experience of is how to use your body in real time to identify what's up. If you know something's up, but you just don't know what's up, that's a good time to reach out, because what I can show you in a matter of seconds will shift it in real time so you can experience it for yourself. And then you realize you don't have to deal with it. Because here's the thing, if you don't deal with it in you, you will deal with it in other people in your life. And often that's not so exciting. Okay.
Yeah. And this stuff's amazing, because when I think I've heard it before you and I met, but after we met, I really internalized it, and I started noticing when in myself as well as in my kids. Like, for instance, I would be I'd hit my foot, right? Like stub my foot somewhere, and I'd stop and say, what was I just thinking about? Right. Or am I trying to tell myself something like, are you thinking about this wrong or whatever? Crazy things like that happen. And two, I notice when I have two young daughters, when the karma always shows up when they're trying to do something to avoid a responsibility, right? They're always tripping and falling or running into something when they're supposed to be doing something. And I just noticed this pattern. So this is exciting for me, because I'm striving for more meaning out of it, because I see that there is meaning in it.
Well, you're starting to understand the why. Because look, Brian nailed it. I mean, if you're walking around the house and you're stubbing your toe and you're falling over, like, look, there's something you're thinking about that's creating an experience that's impacting areas of your body that have emotional correlation and meaning. Like that right there. Directing myself at what I'm hearing. Right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot more than most people are aware of. And no, I'm not reading your thoughts. And you need to read your thoughts, because your thoughts are creating your experience. And this is a really good question by, have you heard of Ed Milet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love Ed Milet. One of his book I got a while back and I read it. one of the things he says was, have you ever thought about what you think about? I was like, no, I haven't. And now that I'm doing that, I realize I waste a significant amount of time thinking about dumb stuff that's unnecessary. So hindsight's 2020 most of the time. Use that and get clear on what you're feeling, but just know that this is the most important thing you could possibly understand about you as a human being with a spirit in your body that is communicating to you with body language. You can understand this information and you can adjust your being off of the facts and off of your highest expression, which means you live in the world of perfection. Of course, life always has the opportunity to show up. At the same time, I don't believe that you're bound by rules and obligations of most humans, because once you start operating in a different place, you're under different levels of spiritual laws and understandings, which is not the same. So then I can't. That's something you have to experience for yourself, if that's what you're choosing to do.
How I learned what you learned from Ed Milet, the way I heard it is observe the observer. Look at how you're observing things, and start analyzing that, not the actual thoughts of your practice of how you're analyzing things. And it's been transformational.
It's huge, because I think a lot of times we're not used to going that extra layer deep. And when you're able to go that extra layer deep, it gives you a different understanding of, wow, what am I thinking about? Is it even important? Most of the time it's not, which is really interesting. So,
and that's what I think about, like stubbing my foot. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I was thinking about something in regards to work or my state of being, and I stubbed my foot, and it immediately allowed me to look at the way I was looking at things. I had a shift. I forget what the specific shift was, but it was amazing. I was subconsciously telling myself, hey, pay attention.
Yeah, there you go. Now feed her about understanding.
Oh,
yeah. So, and I'll give you a little bit of code so you understand. So, in our hand is exactly the same as our foot. Okay, so our thumb is our will. And let's say right hand or right foot. So will to do, give, or help. You've got direction, giving direction, God-given strengths, or your bird. You got your ring finger, which is about help. And you got your pinky, which is about sex, money, and desires. So all of your fingers and toes are the same. So if you bang a certain toe, it's not just by coincidence. There are no coincidences from my experience at all. Okay. Just test it for yourself, but just know I haven't found there to be any coincidences at all. Everything has a meaning and a purpose if we're open-minded to believe that and to connect the dots. It's very useful information. So feed her about understanding. Our right foot's about understanding what to do moving forward, or with male figures. The bottom of your foot's about you. Top of your right foot's about other males or about what you're doing in life. Left foot, bottom's about you. Top of your left foot's about other females. And your foot's still about moving forward. Your leg's about understanding. So there's a lot of code in there. A lot of code, because the body can be broken down into a lot of different pieces. Like your hand, this part is about you. Top part's about others. If you would draw a line right in the center of your hand, this side over here is your conscious mind or your thoughts. Over here is your feelings. Your fingers break down to your thoughts, practical execution, physically related to self or physically related to others. So all the phalanges have different meaning and function, because there's times when you're going to be itching yourself and you're going to be doing it with this part versus this part. Like, well, that's weird. Why don't I do it the same way every time? Because it's not the same information.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
That is crazy. Well, listen, Brian, this has been freaking awesome, man. Like I said, I loved every moment hanging out with you, man. And you have useful, practical knowledge that I appreciate. This is not just some heady stuff. This is stuff people can take and use today. So I appreciate that, man. So why don't you share with everybody how they can, find you and get a hold of you if they want to learn more.
So here is the best thing I propose. I'm just going to give you my text line that goes directly to me after the second one. That way we can chat. You have direct access to me, and I can find out what you really need and figure out where would be best to send you, because I have social media pages, books, programs, products, all that stuff. Ideally, I like to just connect with our members first to figure out what's going on, what you need, where you're at. And that way I can give you the best support and fit wherever you're at. We'll figure that part out. So my number is 512-648-5440. And I send out videos. I send out all kinds of interesting stuff on it. So if you got value out of today, I send out more stuff like that in my text service too. So start there. That's the easiest way. If not, you probably could reverse engineer some of my stuff on Brian's page. But that would be the best place. And I'm going to have him post my high performance habits group for entrepreneurs and business owners, which is a free group. So you can use that too. And that'll give you a couple of access points, and then we can just take it from there.
And if you're listening or watching this, if you didn't write that down, don't worry. Wherever this is posted, wherever you found this, you'll find the link to the group as well as his number to text. So I encourage you to get on those. I'm on this. I'm following them all the time, and it's clear if you haven't gotten it from what I'm saying. I get a lot of out of what Brian shares. So I hope you do too. So please go subscribe and follow Brian.
Sound as a fun.
Yeah, tell me that.
I choose to make this fun and easy, because as you start upgrading as an entrepreneur, a lot of times it ain't comfortable, and a lot of times people in your circle aren't interested in going with you. So you need to be mindful of that, and you need to be able to keep people that are on your team, people that vote your victory, people that see you for greatness, and people who don't pollute your ideas and your dreams. As a matter of fact, don't tell anyone your dreams, because people can be a wet blanket. Even though they may be supportive consciously, that 93% of them that doesn't believe that you can do it or doesn't believe they can do it can still interrupt and rain on your subconscious experience. So just be very, very, very protective of your dreams, for sure.
Yeah, that's golden. And I know as I grow and I grow my business, more resistance does show up. So it's kind of like there's an evil one out there trying to feed a lie that's not true. And the more we succeed, the more he tries to show up to get us to hold back from our greatness. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, man. My pleasure.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Brian, thanks for being on. Again, I appreciate you a lot, man. And thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the On Purpose Grow podcast. Make sure if this is the first time you're watching, you're clicking subscribe and following us, leave a comment, and also follow Brian once you're done with the episode. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Later, y'all.